All right, welcome to another deep dive. Buckle up, because today we're going on a little trip
A trip? Where
to
to?
the future, 2050 to be exact. We're going to be diving into a piece from 2024 all about what life might be like then.
2050, huh? That sounds pretty far out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it imagines this world shaped by, all those big technological changes, the fifth industrial revolution, all that transhumanist
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, the transhumanists, always thinking big. So what's this piece say? Flying cars? Robot butlers?
Well, maybe not those exactly. But it does get into some pretty big changes, like how technology could completely change, society, how we work, everything. It even questions what it means to be human. Pretty deep stuff,
Makes you think, doesn't it?
definitely. So, okay, let's start with something everyone's got to deal with work. What did this thing say about jobs in 2050?
Well, it paints a pretty wild picture. So picture this. It's 2050, and robots are doing almost all the work.
Robot doing all the work, like what, building houses?
Yeah, building houses, harvesting food, even doing all the complicated stuff in the financial markets.
Whoa, hold on. So does that mean everyone's just, hanging out on beaches, sipping cocktails all day while robots do everything?
Not exactly. The source says this shift doesn't mean humans are useless, it just means our role changes.
Changes how?
Instead of being just workers, we'd become more like creators, thinkers, innovators.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, someone's got to design those robots,
Yeah.
right? Program them, manage them, all that.
Right, exactly.
But okay, what about the people who maybe aren't into that kind of work or don't have the skills for it? What happens to them in this robot future?
That's where things get really interesting. This piece, it suggests that because AI would be doing most of the work, there's a real chance for something called universal basic income to become, a thing.
Universal basic income, I've heard of that. But what is it exactly?
Basically, it's the system where everyone gets a base income, like no matter what,
Hmm.
funded by, taxes on all that robot labor.
So everyone has enough to live on, even if they aren't working.
Yeah, exactly. It's the safety net so people can, follow their passions or learn new stuff or just like live their lives without worrying about money all the time.
Wow. Has it ever been tried before? For real?
There have been some like small experiments with UBI in different countries, but nothing on a global scale like what this piece is talking about.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah, and it would come with a lot of questions too, of course.
Like what?
Like, how would you actually implement something like that? And what effect would it have on people? Would people still be motivated to work? Would the economy keep growing? All those big questions.
Makes you think, huh? How we structure society, how we value different types of work.
Definitely.
Okay, let's move on to something else that really blew my mind, optional aging.
Hmm?
The piece suggests that by 2050, getting old might be like a choice.
I know, right? It sounds crazy.
Crazy.
But the source actually breaks down the science behind it, talking about all these advancements, gene editing, nanotechnology, personalized medicine.
All that futuristic stuff.
Yeah. And they could potentially like reverse cellular damage. So you could have someone who's like 70 years old but feels like they're 30.
70 going on 30.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so let's imagine this actually happens. People could live for centuries. How would that change things, you think?
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? It would change everything. How we think about careers, relationships, even our place in history.
Imagine having centuries to, I don't know, learn new things.
Mm-hmm.
You could have multiple careers, master different fields. Even relationships could last for generations.
Yeah, it's hard to even grasp what that would be like.
But wouldn't it come with its own set of problems, too?
Oh, absolutely.
What?
Well, think about overpopulation, right?
Yeah.
How would we manage resources if everyone's living so much longer? And then there are like the philosophical questions. What does it even mean to live forever?
Yeah, those are some heavy questions. What's the value of different stages of life if we can just, choose not to age?
Exactly. This idea, it really makes you question some fundamental stuff about life and death and about what it means to be human. Really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What makes a life meaningful?
It does, it does. Okay, well, speaking of rethinking things, let's talk about food. What's this source say about what we'll be eating in 2050?
Oh, get ready for a total food revolution, like completely personalized meals, optimized by, AI.
AI chefs now.
Yeah.
What, robot Gordon Ramsay yelling at us to season our food?
Huh, not quite. More like AI creating meal plans and these things called molecular synthesizers. Basically, they can print food just for you, based on your needs, what you like, even your genes.
Hold on. Print food. That sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. What does that even mean?
Imagine like a device in your kitchen. It puts together food molecule by molecule. You could create dishes that are perfectly balanced, taste amazing, and no allergies.
So you're telling me if I want like a super spicy Thai curry, but also low carb and packed with protein.
Boom. Just program it into the synthesizer and it's done.
Wow. It's like having a personal chef and nutritionist all in one. That would definitely change how we think about cooking.
Right.
But, okay, what about people who love to cook? They enjoy the whole process. Would we lose that?
That's a good point. The source doesn't really address that directly, but it does make you think, how would technology change our traditions?
Yeah.
Maybe these synthesizers would be more like advanced tools, you know? We could still explore new recipes, but with way more control.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about government. With all these potential changes, AI, longer lifespans, how would we even govern ourselves in 2050?
Well, the source suggests things would be pretty different there, too. It says that the way we do government now, it might not work anymore.
So what, we'd have robot presidents?
Not exactly. More like AI-driven systems. They'd analyze all this data, come up with policies, and actually put those solutions into action, like way more efficiently than we can now.
So picture this. AI tackling climate change,
Right.
figuring out how to use resources best, even managing, like global pandemics, and all without the political drama we have now.
Exactly.
It's a lot of power for AI, though, right?
Yeah.
Do we really want to trust them that much?
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern. And the source does talk about that. It says we got to be careful, set clear guidelines, make sure everything's transparent, and constantly check that the AI is doing what's best for everyone.
Makes sense. It's like we'd be creating this whole new system of digital governance.
Right.
The source also talks about something else pretty big, universal digital currencies, like based on blockchain technology. What's that all about?
Imagine a global financial system. Everyone has access to the secure digital currency, no more banks, and maybe even less economic inequality.
Yeah, that sounds kind of utopian. But wouldn't that come with its own risks too? What about hackers and
Yeah.
privacy and people manipulating the system?
Yeah, you're right. There are downsides. And the source acknowledges those. It says we need really strong security, ethical rules, and countries working together,
Right.
to make sure this technology is used responsibly and fairly.
So again, with every cool advancement, there's a whole bunch of challenges and ethical stuff to think about.
Absolutely. It's like technology isn't a magic solution. It's a tool, and it can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to us, the choices we make.
Right, right. Okay, let's get into something a bit more philosophical now. What does this source say about education in the future? In a world where we can access any info instantly and potentially live forever.
Well, the source basically says education would be completely different. Schools and universities might not even exist the way they do now. Instead, we'd have personalized learning, all powered by neural interfaces and VR.
Neural interfaces, what,
Yeah.
plugging our brains into the internet?
Kinda, yeah. Imagine downloading knowledge straight into your brain or experiencing history firsthand through these super realistic simulations. You could learn astrophysics by playing with virtual galaxies or explore the human body from the inside.
Wow, that would make learning way more fun.
Right.
But wouldn't there be downsides too? What about teachers? And how would kids learn social skills? And wouldn't we be overloaded with info?
You bring up important points. The source suggests learning would become a lifelong thing, always evolving, guided by AI mentors and personalized plans. But it also says human connection is still key. We'd still need communities, both online and in person, to connect and learn from each other.
Okay, so we've got AI teachers, virtual classrooms, instant knowledge downloads. What about relationships? How would those change in this crazy connected future?
Oh, get ready for some next-level intimacy. The source talks about neural implants that could let us share thoughts and feelings directly.
Wait, like reading each other's minds?
Exactly.
That's both awesome and kind of scary, What would that mean for privacy? Or even our own identities?
Yeah, it would raise a lot of questions. And the source talks about those too. It says this level of connection, it would change everything. How we relate to each other, our sense of self, even what it means to be human.
So again, every new possibility comes with a whole new set of benefits and risks.
It all comes back to that idea. Technology is a double-edged sword. It can be used to do amazing things, but it can also be really dangerous. The key is to use it wisely.
Okay, so after going through all this, what does the source say about, the big picture? What kind of world are we looking at in 2050?
It paints a picture of a very different world, totally transformed by technology. How we live, work, connect with each other. It imagines a future where we've solved a lot of the problems we have now. Poverty, disease, climate change, all thanks to AI, biotech, renewable energy.
So it's not like a perfect utopia, but it sounds like it could be a lot better than things are now.
Yeah, there's that hope. But the source also says, this future isn't guaranteed. It depends on what we do now, the choices we make, the values we prioritize.
So it's a call to action, basically.
Exactly. It's saying, hey, think about what kind of world you want and start working towards it.
Wow, this has been a seriously mind-blowing deep dive. Robot workers, printed food, AI governments, mind-reading tech. It's a lot to take in. It seems like the future holds both amazing potential and, like, some serious challenges. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to touch on. The source mentions this new world order, a change in how we see ourselves in the universe.
Yeah, that's where things get, really deep. It suggests that all these advancements, they could lead to a whole new era, a new world order, you could say.
That sounds intense. New world order. What does that even mean in this context?
It's not about, conspiracies or anything like that. It's about how we see ourselves in the universe. With AI, bioengineering, maybe even contact with aliens, the whole idea of what humanity is, it could change completely.
So we're not just talking about humans anymore. What else would be part of this new order?
It talks about AI maybe becoming conscious, bioengineered organisms being a big part of our ecosystems. The lines between humans and machines could get really blurry. We might not be the only intelligent beings around anymore.
Whoa, okay. That's like a lot to process. So how would this new world order actually work? Would we be hanging out with super smart AI and, talking trees?
It doesn't get into specifics, really,
Right.
but it stresses how important collaboration would be. Sustainability, too. And recognizing that everything's connected, all forms of life. It's saying the choices we make now, the values we focus on, that'll shape what this new order looks like.
So it's not like a guaranteed utopia or dystopia. It's more like we have the power to decide.
Exactly.
But wouldn't all these changes cause a lot of disruption? Power shifts and stuff? How do we make sure everyone benefits, not just a few people?
That's the big question, right? And the source acknowledges that. It says, this transition to a new world order, it's going to be tough. We'll need good leaders, global cooperation, and a real focus on fairness and inclusion. We got to start thinking now about how to manage all this change, how to make sure the benefits are shared, and how to avoid the risks.
It's definitely a lot to think about. But it's also, super exciting. It feels like we're on the edge of something huge.
It really does. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole vision of 2050. It's a call to action. We're not just watching the future happen, we're shaping it.
So after this deep dive into the potential future, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away?
I hope they feel that sense of wonder, that curiosity about what's possible, and, a renewed appreciation for what humans can achieve.
Yeah.
But I also hope they feel a sense of responsibility because the future isn't set in stone. It's up to us to decide what we want it to be.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This deep dive has given us a glimpse into one possible future. But there are so many others. It all depends on us. What role do you want to play? What matters most to you? What kind of world do you want to create?
Those are the questions we should all be asking.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. It's been an incredible exploration of possibilities, challenges, and the power of choice. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining the future you want to create.